Hello, my name's David Seaman, and this is the Three Lions Podcast.
Hello and welcome back to the Three Lions Podcast. My name is Russell Osborne and this is an independent England football supporters podcast. Hope you're keeping well. This is the review episode for the Wales and Latvia games. It's a little later than I'd hoped, but once again, general life has kind of got in the way, so please forgive me. So congratulations to our national team. Qualification for next year's World Cup is in the bag. This followed Albania's win over Serbia, which in turn meant that a victory in Riga would mean this, and the emphatic 5-0 win confirmed it. It looked like those who went to Riga had a great time, and of course will now be planning for next year's adventure. And of course there was the win over Wales shortly before that, and we'll look back at both of those very soon with friend of the show, CJ Joyner. But from myself, looking at it, as I sat at home watching that Latvia game, it just feels a bit flat, a bit anticlimactic. I posted on Twitter about this, and I know what I'm about to say is, as I said at the time, a bit of a first world problem. It's a bit of a double-edged sword. You can look at it either way. But I think it was a group where, I've said it before, we just weren't tested. We haven't been tested. And from the beginning, I thought Serbia would be our closest threat, and they still may be. By eventually, they may come second. But from what I've seen of them, I've not been blown away. They were more of a team when we faced them in last year's Euros. Albania, I think, have been more of a threat in the group, but everyone we've played, we've swiped aside. Andorra away, maybe the exception. You could also say the home one, but we've got maximum points. But I'm left asking myself, are we that good, or have all our group opponents been poor? And as I say, we're unbeaten. 6 wins from 6, 18 goals scored, none conceded, and thus became the first European nation to qualify. I can't grumble. I am, though. I just think we haven't been tested, and that's what concerns me at this moment. Of course, next year we'll have a couple of friendlies, maybe, 2 in March, and then there's talk of the 2 in the States before the actual World Cup. So you're going to hope that they are of high calibre opponents, so we can see what sort of a team we've got. So with our qualification in the bag, we weren't just the only ones. There have been others. Let's take a look at those. Following this window, there are now 25 nations qualified. So we've got 28 in total, including the hosts, Canada, USA and Mexico. But this window just gone saw the addition of Egypt, Algeria, Ghana, Cape Verde, South Africa, Qatar, ourselves, Saudi Arabia, Ivory Coast and Senegal. I know on Twitter I did say a little bit about Cape Verde. I may have been a little dismissive, a little harsh, but in recent years they appear to have done fairly well. They just missed out on sort of the automatic qualification for 2022. But I've said it before, I'm still not convinced by the expansion of the World Cup to 48 teams. It just seems too much, and I think the group stages will be a bit of a chore. I think there'll be some good games, of course, but I think there's going to be a fair bit of dross in that group stage. It's not going to be until we get to the knockouts, until we see, well, dare I say it again, until we see what we are capable of. Now, on Thursday, just gone, Thomas Tuchel celebrated 1 year in charge of the side. He's had those 6 qualification games plus 2 friendlies, Senegal and Wales. Both have had their moments. Of course, we lost to Senegal, but then we beat Wales. And I want to just quickly touch on his comments about the Wales game, which was more on the crowd support, or lack of it. This is what he said to ITV straight after the game.
Thomas, you wanted to build on the Serbia win. How'd you sum up tonight?
We did very, very well. We had an excellent first half. We were 3-0 up very quickly, but we could have been 4-5-0 up at halftime. It's very, very good. Then we couldn't score the fourth one, the fifth one. The stadium was silent. We never got any energy back from the fans, and I think the players delivered a lot to get more from the stands. So it was difficult to keep everything going in the second half, but we did excellent. We deserved to win, and next step in the right direction.
You were expecting more from Wembley tonight then?
Yeah. What more can you give than 20 minutes, 3 goals, and the thing we're going and the way we attack Wales and didn't let them escape even off their own half and had ball win after ball win after ball win. And if you're then here for half an hour just Wales fans, it's a bit sad because I think the team deserved big support today.
Now there are a few things to dissect from this. Firstly, it's no secret that Wembley can be a bit of a library, for want of a better word, for national games. He's not wrong that the ground was silent at times, and I was in the upper tier, directly above him. But why was it silent? Well, to start with, the first 20 minutes, it wasn't. Both national anthems were sung loud and proud, and whilst I may not agree with it, the Welsh one was roundly booed, or it was by those around me. 3 goals in quick succession at the start of the game against a team who, frankly, weren't that good, in a midweek friendly with nothing really at stake other than bragging rights. And to be honest, I'm not sure many really regard Wales as an opponent in the same way that they would have done back in the days of the home internationals. But then there is the issue of fans having to get home. For those that don't live within the M25 or the home counties, getting away from the ground, either by train or car, can be quite arduous. If you live up north, then I totally get why you'd leave early, be it at half-time, on the hour, or with 15 to go. And the game was done and dusted by then. You're still getting home in the early hours. And many fans will have work or school the following day. And in some instances, or many instances, the last train from the likes of King's Cross or Paddington, or wherever you need to depart from, they leave before full time, or just gone full time. You've then got to factor in getting away from the ground. Being stuck on Wembley Way is no fun, with Chris Stark constantly telling us we'll be getting on our way shortly over the tannoys. I could go on to say about the National Stadium should be somewhere else, but that's pointless. It's not going to change anytime soon. And it's all right for Tuchel. He'll leave once the queues are long gone, probably taken by taxi too. We also have to remember Wembley, for a game like this, becomes a tourist trap, either for families or those that might want to buy a half and half scarf, if you get my drift. And perhaps they aren't the ones that are going to make an atmosphere, the atmosphere that Tuchel wants. There was a time when, as fans, you could kind of block book seats to get a large crowd together, all with the same intention of getting behind the team, as one, as a block of noise. But whoever was in charge of that, be it the FA, Wembley, the supporters club, whoever sort of helped that, decided to stop it. So now when you're waiting for a ticket, you're randomly allocated a seat. You can't choose where you might want to sit. I mean, you can choose your block, but at various other venues that you may go to, be it the rugby, your Premier League venue, or your local cinema, they will let you pick your actual seat. But for England games, for whatever reason, you can't do that. And it doesn't look like it's going to change anytime soon. And it'd be fair to assume that Tuchel doesn't know about these things. So I understand why he said it, but I just don't. Can it be changed? Well, not unless we have a big game with something riding on it. Perhaps in the Nations League next year we'll see and hear some noise, but I wouldn't expect anything anytime soon. And of course many will say about taking the games on the road. And I get that, totally. But if you look back, Villa Park, Nottingham, Newcastle, they've all been used recently for England venues, but none of them really rocked, to be honest. And I don't think we're alone in this situation. I think other nations and clubs, well, they have the same issue. And just going to the football these days can be expensive. Travel, food, ticket, programme, double that if you have a child to take with you, triple it if you've got two. Maybe you're taking your partner. I don't know. It can be expensive. So it's unsurprising that perhaps those that would maybe usually go, maybe look at a friendly against Wales and think, yeah, maybe not this time. I'll save it for another time. But what I will say is credit where credit's due. On two fronts, the Welsh fans were great. Full of noise, as you'd expect them to be. Second half, they gave a good 25 minutes of noise, but having been an away supporter on many an occasion, you kind of revel in being heard. You're all in that same section. You're all together, much like it is when there was like the block booking that you could do as home fans. You kind of revel in being heard, being in the minority in the ground, getting behind the team. And I'm not going to throw too many flowers at the Welsh fans, as you'd understand, but fair play to them. They were heard. The other thing I want to mention, and I think a lot of credit should be given for this, the FA's partnership with the Alzheimer's Society on the night of the game. Both teams walking out with 22 fans living with dementia, who incidentally all got their names on the back of the matchday programme. Nice touch, that. I know many games the FA will team up with various organisations and charities, but I don't know, this one worked. It was quite powerful. And they've done it before with the Alzheimer's Society. As they've done before, the second half, the team played without their names on the back of their shirts, which the idea of that was to draw attention to memory loss. And I think it worked. So hats off to the FA there. Now, before we catch up with CJ, I just wanted to bring something to your attention. For many years now, we've had the international windows in September, October and November. Generally, 2 games in each. This is going to change as of next year. Now, if I've got this right, we will see from the 21st of September to the 6th of October, 4 games within that period, and 2 between the 9th and 17th of November. Now, the reasons for this is so players' travel is reduced. Players and staff, I guess, as well. But the players, obviously, they have to cross different continents for games, and it's going to be reduced. We've got players in the Premier League who have to go back to South America or have to go back to Africa. they won't have to cross continents so much in September and October. They do it all within this time period. So it means that this time next year, when we're back in Nations League action, we're going to play 2 home games and 2 away games, you would assume, within that space of the 21st of September to the 6th of October. And I'll touch on the Nations League possibilities some other time, but that's something to bear in mind for next year. I haven't looked at the days of that period, but I'm assuming it'll be 2 midweeks and 2 weekends. It could work like that. So yeah, if you're planning next year your away games, might have two successive away games. We could be going to having an away game in, dare I say it, Portugal, and then the next game might be in Belgium. I don't know, without looking at those Nations League possibilities. So they might be bookended by 2 Wembley games. Who knows how it'll work. But let's just quickly take a look at that Wales game.
Goal scorer for England.
Which took us to 70 victories over them in 105 games. And as I said, it was done and dusted after 20 minutes. Bukayo Saka's goal, the pick of the bunch. It's quite reminiscent of the goal David Beckham scored against the same opposition back in 2004. A little further out than Saka's, but from where I was sitting in the upper tier the other night, I had a great view of it sailing into the net. Right, let's catch up with Coventry fan, England fan, and Block 109 member, friend of the show, CJ Joyner. Hello, mate.
Hello, Russ. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Yourself?
I'm good, thank you.
Now, I've
a little bit tired.
A little bit tired. What, you still
from the trip? Always away.
I know. I've spoken to various people in various locations, and I've spoken to you before walking along the towpath. I've spoken to you in your own house. Go on, tell me where you are now.
I'm in the gym at the moment, so doing a bit of catching up just on the few days I've missed.
So if we hear the treadmill going or something like that,
yeah, not quite. I'm sat down.
Fair enough.
I'm sat down next to my favourite machine in the gym. It's the vending machine. So yeah.
Oh, so we've got a little bit to chat about in between whatever weights you're on. Wales, Latvia, and I'd like to touch on the bike ride that I think you instigated and helped with for Block 109, and we'll come to that. But on the football, 2 wins. We can't really argue with that, can we? Or can we?
No, not really. I mean, there was 1 or 2 things kind of after the game that might have been said that we might touch on, Russ. But
well, I already have.
Or maybe you already have.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was really the only thing really controversial you could say. You know, we I think first 20 minutes was excellent against Wales. And then that's kind of it, wasn't it?
It's a strange game, really, wasn't it? Because they're always kind of built up against a home nation. But with the greatest of respect, I don't think it's seen as the biggest game anymore.
It's not, no. I mean, what doesn't help is the amount of times we play them isn't that really that often, is it? Like, we played them out of the World Cup that the vast majority of people wouldn't have attended. It was a very small allocation when we played them in France. I think it was one of the smallest of the whole tournament because we played it was in Lens, wasn't it?
That's right.
So, and before that, I can't remember the last time we played them. It was probably maybe 10 years before we played them. We played them, didn't we, in maybe a qualifier?
Yeah, 2004 we played them.
Yeah, so it's over 10 years before, 12 years before that, the Euros. So, and then the only other time we played them recently was during COVID. During those 2 games, we played them in Ireland and we battered both. So, you think it did have like a little bit of a. It wasn't like your usual. Oh, we're playing Switzerland or Spain today in a friendly. It was kind of like a. It did seem to have a little bit of an edge to it, I think. But even so, I think. It's difficult. It is difficult for the FA to bring in, for us to play these nations very often. But we've got that relationship with, a local derby, so to speak, because they're generally ranked so much lower than us that it affects our rankings quite a bit if we play them and we beat them. And I mean, there's a possibility, I suppose, that beating Wales the other day actually drops our ranking compared to if we hadn't played before.
Strange,
with the average points, with the average points. So. Yeah, it is a little bit. There is that anomaly there, but it's good to play. It is good to play them. Hopefully we played Ireland recently. We played Scotland recently. Hopefully we get a game against Northern Ireland at some point, because that's been a long time coming to get some revenge.
It's been a long time going. I think that was 2000. That may have been 2004, 2005, something like that.
Yeah,
and I think we have to appreciate that. Obviously, there's other teams playing at the same time in their own qualification groups across the world, so it's not as if we can't just put a hand into the velvet bag and pick out anyone that we fancy. That everyone's playing.
Yeah, I think when we worked it out at the start of the year, I think you were actually part of those discussions on our WhatsApp group, Russ, where we were talking about it, and I think there was probably about 4 teams we could actually play.
Yeah,
that were either playing, that we either weren't playing, or where it kind of worked to fit them in.
Yeah.
I think it was like one of the minnows, Wales, and someone else. I think Wales was probably the highest ranked team we could have played. So it had to be them, really, didn't it?
Yeah. So go on then. Let's cut to what Tuchel said after the game. I understand where he comes from, but on the other hand, I'm like, do you really need to say? Is it his job to say that?
No, I mean, you wouldn't have got Southgate saying that.
No.
You just wouldn't have. It just wouldn't have happened. I mean, I think Southgate could go and be prime minister. Quite frankly, he's quite statesman-like, isn't he?
He is.
And there's something I think we'd all vote for him. I think, but either way, with regards to what Tuchel said, it's very it's not the sort of thing you'd expect an England manager to say. I think it might have been kind of, although it seemed like it was aimed at us, I think part of it is a little bit of pop at the FA as well, where effectively, I'd like to think that anyway, that maybe he's thinking, well, look, the FA aren't necessarily helping them here. It's not. Some of these games aren't the most attractive to ascend when just to have them there, just to have the fans there in the first place.
Yeah.
Traveling from one end of the country to another in some cases is that's more than we go above and beyond, really. I mean, there was 78,000 people there.
That's
right.
I
mean, nowhere else in Europe is going to have 78,000 people attending a friendly against a team ranked so much lower than them. It's just not going to happen. That's probably one of the lowest attendances we'll have for quite some time as well. So Serbia, I think, will sell out unless it already has. That's primary example. I know that's not a friendly. I know they're probably a bit better than Wales, but even so, it's still remarkable, really, we can get 80 plus for a game like that. So I just think that it did strike me as I suppose it's a little bit hurtful that he'd say that. It's just the way how he said it, I think. I think he just needs to be. And fair enough. There's a language barrier, but he speaks good enough English. At the end of the day, he's seems virtually perfect word for word, doesn't he? So you think he wouldn't get that wrong.
But I think as well, I think we have to understand his mentality or his personality. He's someone who just says what he thinks.
Yeah, and you look at every job he's been in, PSG, Chelsea, Dortmund, Bayern, Mainz, even lesser extent Mainz, but it did happen a little bit there, where he just tends to fall out with everybody around him, above him, and below him, and either side of him.
But he wins a trophy before that. He falls out.
Does. He does. And this is why it's going to be a little bit difficult, I think, when next summer when for the FA, when they look at it and think, well, this guy's just won us the World Cup, which will happen, and he's also now gone all guns blazing, telling us what he actually thinks, and can we work with this guy? How are we going to be able to basically go forward with him? I mean, with regards to that, I must say, I do think the FA do need to read the room a little bit and think, there needs to be some kind of succession planning. We need an English manager in there. We saw it. It was great. We won the home Euros with the women, but we had a foreign manager. And yet, again, we're probably going to be favourites potentially to win the home Euros. The men are with a foreign manager. And I just think it's not a very good look for the FA, is it? So I do think there needs to be some succession planning anyway, really, because I just think we do need to be trying to find somebody that can go in and replace him. That's English, really.
Well, we're going to have to watch this space because that's potentially a year away, 9-10 months away. But England fans had their say back to him. I think is a nice way of putting it, from the terraces in Riga, didn't they? Tell us about Riga, because I didn't manage to go. It looked like everyone had a good time.
Yeah, it was. I've been there once before for the 2017. In 2017, we played Lithuania, and we played a few. We stopped over there for 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
And so I've been there once before, but it's a lovely city. Very surprised about the price of the drinks. I would say they're about the same as what they are here.
Okay.
Maybe some bars, I'm talking €9 a pint. Other bars, a fair bit less, 5, 6 euros. So it's about the same as what it is here, really. Food was a lot cheaper. Our accommodation was ridiculously cheap, considering what we got for it. Big apartment. But ultimately, we are. It was just a lovely city, and it's just really nice. I think we were treated quite well when we were there. I don't really recall seeing any of their police officers either.
Okay.
I mean, in Belgrade we saw them, but they kept us at arm's length. They were just kind of gathering, so to speak. There'd be 3 or 4 of them near where we were, but it was almost as if to protect us more than like to come and clobber us with, for no reason. Which we have had in the past of different nations, but ultimately I didn't see any police. Obviously, I saw the stewards at the stadium, and I think we were treated very well. And it's a place I'd like to go back to at some point, really.
Yeah. Well, it appears to have gone off without a hitch. There was no stories of any issues. There was no stories of any issues. Yeah. So
with regards to the chanting, it was I think we made. I mean, Tuchel heard us because he smiled quite a bit.
Yeah.
Put his thumb up to us and so on, and I think he took it in good grace, really. And I think hopefully we can draw a line under that now, and we can. That's it. We've had our say, and we don't need to say anything like. We need to. It doesn't need to be brought up again now. So that's hopefully that's in the position we're in, and we can all pull in the same direction. The staff, the media, the fans, and the players can all just pull in the same way, like we were under Southgate. Really,
to be honest, I thought Latvia were all right with the greatest of respect. They had a couple of opportunities. We were never gonna be beaten by them, but yeah, 5-0 was convincing enough to see us through next year.
I mean, they certainly had a better go than the Welsh did.
And I think Serbia. And I think they had a better go than
Serbia as well. Yeah. Serbia as well, yeah. I think they. I mean, Pickford didn't have a massive amount to do, did he?
A couple of times in the second half he was called upon, but nothing that he's out of his comfort zone.
But a lot of that was due to wayward shooting, really, and maybe they should have got 1 or 2 on target. Those shots that went narrowly wide or went a bit wider than that. But I think Yeah, I think they actually played quite well. They didn't seem to change their ethos, the way of playing. They were trying to play out from the back.
Yep.
They were passing the ball around quite nicely, actually, I thought. And yeah, they weren't necessarily running rings around us. They were they had a lot of like intricate passing moves, like maybe they put together 8-9 passes, but then generally it was Rice that would break it down, and then we'd just them again. And I think 5-0 was probably about the right score, really. But saying that, if they had scored one, you wouldn't have really been that surprised, really, because they did have those chances. And yeah, and I mean, a little bit on that, like with regards to Pickford, and it's another clean sheet.
Exactly.
And when was the last time he conceded? It's like 9 in a row, isn't it? Isn't he the first one ever to do it? And
was he in the sticks for Senegal? I'm trying to think now.
No, that was Henderson, wasn't it?
Henderson, was it?
Wasn't it Henderson? Yeah.
Yeah. So in front of us.
Yeah, and because of the Forest, it was the Forest connection, wasn't it? But I do think that he's once again Pickford is proving to be, even if he's not called upon that often, just he always looks solid.
Yeah.
The ball comes to him and there's a player a yard from him. I'm never thinking he's going to drop this or he's going to fluff this kick. I know he did last year against Belgium, didn't he? But this is the thing. I can point out the one mistake from 18 months ago,
aren't they?
It was last March, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So 18 months ago. And you think how many games he's played since then? Probably, what was it? It's probably pushing maybe 20 games, 15, 20 games. Well, it's got to be because of the Euros. So yeah, it's got to be pushing 20 games. And you just look at it and think, how many mistakes has he actually made? And he's phenomenal. He's our most important player.
Yeah. Because
it's not so much now with Henderson, because I think Henderson has been the number 2 for quite some time. He's showing some form, but it's still a big drop. Bigger than Kane down to Watkins or whoever it might be.
Yeah, so, renewed contract to Everton for him. So he's, you can't see beyond him. But speaking of players, we've obviously got not a new set of players, but we've got new players coming in. Elliot Anderson of Forest has come in and stamped quite some authority on that position and giving Tuchel a headache. Well, I don't think it's a headache, but Tuchel has come out and said, look, if you're playing for your club and he's wanted to keep these 2 squads for October, September, fairly similar, he's looking at similar players now, isn't he? I mean, Jude Bellingham, is he going to have a fight on his hands to get back in?
Jude, I think realistically, going through qualifying and go through friendlies, he's not necessarily needed, really. But I think there's very few people. You look at Slovakia. Yeah. That game is very telling. The 2 players that got us out of that hole, and it was what was it? Literally one of the last kicks of the game, and then one of the first kicks of the of extra time. And it was one of the first touches of extra time that we had was Kane scored. And Bellingham had scored just before full time. So these players are very important, aren't they? I think when we get into tournaments, I think we're going to need Jude. We're going to need at some point. We're going to be playing 8 games next summer, aren't we? So if we're going to be playing these 8 games, at some point we're going to need him to pull something out. It might be a pass that's 40 yards across field to Kane to bring down to score, or Saka to bring down to score, or what have you. I mean, Saka. Well, what can I say about that goal last, at Wembley? But it's ultimately, I think Jude is needed for those big moments.
Right.
So we can't just stick him in during tournaments. He's got to play beforehand. So I would hope that we try to integrate him in some way. He's got to start in November if he's fit. Yeah. Really. He's just got to. And you say about Anderson. Anderson's been absolutely superb.
Phenomenal.
I think Wharton's a little bit unfortunate because was it last year he had, or was it this year? It was this year, wasn't it? Where he had a really bad concussion.
Yeah.
So he was out for quite some time. He was basically on his sofa pretty much. I don't think he was training or doing any gym work or anything. So so I think if it hadn't been for that, he would have been maybe in the team. But Anderson has come in, and you can't really drop him. To be honest with you,
this is what I'm thinking. But
I was thinking, going on the pass. I mean, I really prefer to take international form over club form. To be honest with you, I'd rather look at how a player plays for the team he's actually been picked for.
Yeah,
and for that coach and his coaches and the players around him and the system that they're playing in that environment. I just think that's a bit more important. But the player that I would have had in there, to be honest with you, before Anderson came in, and Wharton as well, I think he does deserve a shot, but like I say, you can't really drop him, was Jones. I think Curtis Jones has been outstanding. He was probably the best player in the Premier League in that position over the last 2 years. I think he's been outstanding, and I think he's had a shot with England, and he's actually done quite well for us, hasn't he? So he hasn't really ever put in a shocker, I don't think. So he's somebody he just seemed to have been put to one side, and it's a little bit of a shame, really. I think he did have a little bit of an injury, but even so, I'd like to see him come back in at some point and be given a go. But at the end of the day, like I said, Anderson at the moment, you can't drop him. I just think he's been that good.
Yeah,
and just to bring in Wharton or bring in Jones or anybody else to play there, you just can't drop him.
Yeah,
so
Ezri Konsa is another one. I know he's had a fair few caps now. But he seems to have established himself as a natural selection for England now. And some of the tackles he made against Latvia, like a couple of last ditch ones, he's got to be considered as a starter, you think?
I mean, the centre halves for me, it should be everyone being fit. It should be Stones and Gay.
Yeah.
But I do think that I think Conta's more versatile, isn't he? He can play I think he can play right back or left back. I think so.
I think with Stones as well, he's a little bit injury prone now. A couple of injuries last season and early this season. It's going to see how things progress.
Yeah, and like you said with the injuries, if Gay or Stones isn't fit, then Conta has to play, doesn't he?
Absolutely.
I mean, there is that elephant in the room. I've said it numerous times, Russ, and we seem to pick Dan Burn, and I'm sorry, I just don't think he's quite up to international standard. Really, I just don't think he is. I think he's made quite a few mistakes in his time in England this year. It's a lovely story. I think it's fantastic. He's done what he's done, and so on with winning a trophy and what have you. And he just in those videos that were put out with regards to the mascots with dementia,
yes,
he just seemed like that seemed pretty typical of him for any of his interviews or anything else he's done. He just seems to do a lot of community stuff and so on. He seems like a lovely guy and everything else, but hard-working player. But ultimately, I just don't think he's up to the standard that we need. And it's that elephant in the room, like I said, of why are we picking him when we could pick somebody who's probably better? He's got 64 caps and he's a year younger.
Obviously, we're talking Maguire, and I do wonder. I mean, there was no Manchester United players in this last squad, which I think until United sort themselves out domestically, then it's going to be a struggle for any of those United players to get back in. And we all know that Maguire's been a stalwart for England over the years. But I can see why you would have him above Dan Burn. Unfortunately, I can't see it happening anytime soon because of where both clubs are.
Yeah, and neither of them should be starting anyway, realistically, should they? So this is the thing. I think the starting 11 pretty much picks itself mostly. Like I said, there's that little bit of that who plays next to Rice. There's that up in the air, but realistically, you look at it and you think, there's not that many, who do we play there or who do we play there?
Yeah.
So who comes in to wear that. I look. I'll say the number 21 and 22 shirt, and 24 and 25 and 26 shirt, depending on how big the squad is. But we seem to have gone down the road where we've had squad numbers now. It seems to be it's a bit of a strange one, really. We don't seem to have had for quite some. I can't remember us ever doing that aside from during tournaments. Which I just find that a little bit strange, really. But those players that are like higher up in their squad number, traditionally, when you'd normally have 1 to 11, for England anyway, does it really? Are they going to be called upon that much anyway?
Yeah.
If they're fourth choice centre half or whatever it might be, but they need to be ready to go, don't they?
Yeah.
But so we're in a, like I said, we're in a very good position. Maybe fullbacks are just a little. That's the only place for me, I would say, for the fullbacks.
Okay. Well, we've got just under a year to look at it, or for Tuchel to look at it and see what suits us. I mean, just briefly, have you already cast your eye ahead to next year?
The prices have hit myself and quite a few people, like, not with massive amount of surprise. We all know it's expensive in the States.
Yeah.
You look, what's an NFL season ticket? $3,000 or something ridiculous, $4,000. So, baseball simulator. I mean, obviously you get you get a game every day in baseball, don't you? But across a 7 or 8 month period. But it is. We expected it to be we expected it to be expensive, but it's just a bit. You look at it and think, final $2,500, $3,000. Do we really want to be handing $2,500 to $3,000 over to FIFA to keep it from January, February time until potentially we don't even play in the game and we get it back in August? Well, do we want to be doing that when historically the FA have normally got an amount of tickets that are available after the semi-final anyway? In the finals that we played in, or semi-finals we played in, there's always been an amount of tickets that, we're doing it on caps and there is this available. So those higher up in the caps table are probably thinking, I'll take the risk and we'll leave it. The group stage games aren't too bad. They're not too bad. I think what I'll probably be looking at is doing these 2 friendlies because of the caps.
Yes.
And then depending on what happens, I'll either do the first and second group game, or maybe the third group game and the round of 32. Just simply because if let's say I think the friendlies have to be played between the 1st and the 9th, don't they? So, Italy, for example, we end up playing on the 1st and the 7th, and then we don't end up playing till the 17th. In the first group game. That's a long time to spend there, and a lot of money to be spent on hotels and everything else. So it's probably the sort of thing where a lot of people would come home. So I wouldn't necessarily go out to the first, but I'd get tickets maybe to the third one and round of 32, and then possibly out for the final. So that'd be my plan, I would think.
Fair enough. There's going to be a lot of people thinking similar, I'd imagine. Let's just go back to when was it? To Villa Park time, which was what was that? It was beginning of August, wasn't it?
It was,
beginning of August.
No, September. Yeah. So
beg your pardon, yes.
Yeah,
you went on a little bike ride.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, so block 109. We, as you know, we do things for charities. We've been struggling, to be honest with you, trying to donate to anything in some of these countries. And there's a bit of language barrier and so on. And the moment you ring up and say, "Yeah, I'm a football fan that wants to give you money," they just seem to be, well, that's a bit weird. But I mean, we donated a bit during the Euros last year, and we've donated to different causes over here and what have you as well. And did we do anything last year in the 3? I think we did something in one of those 3 games towards the end of the year. I can't remember 100% what it was, but so we did do something there. So, so we try to kind of give back to where we play, and and I just thought, you know what, we didn't do anything in Nottingham, so let's try and do something. And I'm into me cycling, so, and there was a few others that are. So let's do something. So there was 4 of us that went from the City Ground, our last home ground, to the next one, to Villa Park, the day before we played Andorra there, and it ended up being about 93, 94k, something like that. Start off at the National Memorial Arboretum.
Nice.
So I think fully recommend that for anybody that's in the area. It's on a call in there. It's something I think everyone should kind of go and visit really at some point. So that was quite nice to visit there. And there was one person hadn't been on a bike apart from getting it out of the garage, oiling it, and then riding it to one end of his cul-de-sac to the other, back into the garage. That's literally all he'd done for 8 years.
Solid
literally
training.
sat on a bike, and he was struggling. Bless him, Ben was. He was really struggling, and we got him there, and as you know, as you might know, with drafting and so on, it helps a lot when you got somebody directly in front of him. So all the other 3 of us kind of or at least one of us would be dropping back to kind of do a little bit of the work for him, so to speak. So we, just to help him and spur him on. But we got there. We made it. It was I think moving time was something like 4 and a bit hours. But it took a fair bit longer, including the stops. So, but
fair amount raised.
So we raised a fair amount. I can't remember exactly how much it is. It was for the children's hospitals in Nottingham and Birmingham. We need to actually donate the money over, but we are looking at possibly doing something between now and Albania, maybe, where we'd raise a few more and just kind of add to the total. Yeah. So we'd make one big donation around about that time. So, and then also so it's a 3/3 effectively. One for one hospital, one for another, and then one for our efforts abroad. And hopefully we'll be able to do something now in Albania. So be able to do something there.
Oh, Albania coming up obviously in November, which I hope to see you at.
Yeah. Hopefully so, Russ. Hopefully we'll be seeing you there.
Yeah, it'll be my having missed Serbia and Latvia. I'm itching to get my passport stamped again.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that was a little bit of a pain. Really, landed in Latvia. It was the first day of this new stamp thing. Well, supposedly we don't get stamps. The guy that was sort of dealing with my queue in his little booth didn't seem to know fully what to do. And a friend of mine, a friend of yours, Liam, he was something like 15 people behind me in the queue next to me, and we both got seen the same time. So that was it was quite frustrating. And then when we landed and we went through Stockholm on the way home, we got hit by being told, they didn't do it properly.
Oh, really?
So
there's teething problems and there's teething problems.
There is teething problems, yeah. But I just hopefully it won't be too bad for everybody with Albania, because a lot of people would have already had it done. So it's relatively painless. You scan your fingerprints and it's done. No. So
if the queue's being held up and I'm at the front of it, that's the reason why. Is because
that's the reason why.
Yeah. I'm tapping in for the first time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
CJ, as always, thank you very much for your time. Well done on your efforts for on the bike ride, and I'll leave you to get back on in the gym.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thanks to CJ there. Always a joy chatting with him. I think he's extra chipper at the moment, what with Coventry being top of the Championship. Frank Lampard doing a cracking job there. He said we needed an Englishman in charge after Tuchel. I wonder. Okay, thanks as always for listening. The Lionesses are up next. They face Brazil and Australia in a couple of friendlies soon. I have the preview for that coming. Hope you can join me for it. As always, the show is available on social media. You know where to find it. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Go there. Get in touch. You can also email me, 3lionspodcast@gmail.com if you want to contribute to the show in any way, shape or form. Always great to hear from you. But we'll leave it there. Thanks as always. So until then, take care of yourselves. Cheers.